but we are underway here as Chris Hakopian is ready to step into the batter's box for the Terrapins. The freshman in-state recruit made his Maryland debut in Game 1 of the year against Georgia Southern. First pitch in from Sears. And in his second game for Chris Hakopian, he hit his first career home run. That's just a quick example of what this kid can do. Called strike on that one from Sears. Sears likes to work quickly, the senior from Westphalia, Iowa. Having an elite All-American level season as that pitch is off the plate, makes it 2-1 to Hakopian.
Yeah, breaking ball isn't there. No trips to the fridge. He's going to work fast.
The 2-1 off the plate once again. We'll see if Sears can find the strike zone here. Hakopian was a 4-year starter for Churchill High School in Maryland. Won the Gatorade Player of the Year back in 2022. Swings and misses at that one, and it is a strikeout.
That's what you expected out of Brett Sears. Throwing hard, 95 miles an hour, and it's the fastball as well. His off-speed is very good, complements the fastball at a good rate. It's the fastball on the strikeout that you see blow right by Hakopian, and that brings up Eddie Hakopian, who, like I said, he can get on base at a high clip.
First pitch to Eddie, in there for strike one, and that was Sears' first strike of the day. Had double-digit strikeouts in his last outing here at Haymarket Park. Gets ahead 0-2 on Eddie Hakopian, the junior.
He threw him the changeup that last time after the curveball.
We'll see if he can get Eddie Hakopian here, one of the best hitters in the conference. It's a little bit in the dirt for ball one. Joined Maryland last year, started all 63 games. It's been quite the rise for Eddie Hakopian. The 1-2 off the plate.
He hasn't thrown any fastballs to Eddie Hakopian yet as well. He's had that changeup thrown twice, and he's thrown 2 different breaking balls at him. I wonder if he goes fastball in the 2-2.
2-2 coming from Sears. This one is grounded left and foul, so we'll do it again.
Very used to seeing the fastball out of Sears.
Here's Sears again. This one is chopped right over to him. He is able to make the play to first. He can. Columbus with the catch. 2 down
there
for
he
Maryland.
Goes with that fastball. Top of the zone. Hakopian just a little too on top of it and grounds it out to Sears.
So just like that, 2 up, 2 down for this Maryland offense. We'll see if the second baseman today, Sam Honar, has anything to say about it. The redshirt senior from Naperville, Illinois, takes a first pitch strike.
It's my neck of the woods.
That is.
Not too far where I'm from.
Fouled off behind Honar, behind 0-2 now. Went 5 for 13 at the plate combined in the last series against Northwestern. Pretty effective bat at the top of this Maryland lineup.
Well, they want a meeting because they can't get anything off of Sears. And Honar down 0-2 as the lefty as well. Maybe they want to talk with the umpire about something. I don't know what this could be about. I don't think it has anything to do with Sears. Maybe just a adjustment change, something like that.
Well, Honar will step back to the batter's box. Huskers shift is on, as Overbeek is really the only Husker defender between second and third right now. That was something that teams have been making Nebraska pay for over the last week. This one is popped up high in the sky. Cayden looks up to try to make the play, and he does. So 3 up, 3 down for the Maryland offense, and Brett Sears works quickly through the top of the first. Husker offense coming up in the bottom on Big Ten Plus. In the Maryland defense, you've got Braden Martin, Elijah Lambros, and Jacob Orr in the outfield. Iannazzo, Keister, Honar, and Hakopian from left to right in the infield. And Alex Calarco is catching for Logan Coster. Coster had a season-high 5 strikeouts against Charlotte on March 10th. He's had 4 strikeouts in 3 separate efforts outside of that, but hasn't been much of a strikeout guy. He's been more get the ball in play and let the defense do a lot of the work.
Yeah, and that's the reason for why that last outing he had 9 runs allowed, only 5 of them being earned, and only having 1 strikeout. He's a ground ball and fly ball pitcher, not more dominant one or the other. Not a strikeout pitcher by any means. I think that helps Nebraska because if they're able to get the lighter hits down, Nebraska's got plenty of speed where they're going to really run on the diamond. He's going to have to control the run game.
Well, here's Cayden Brumbaugh leading off for Nebraska as here's the first pitch from Coster. A little bit off the plate. Brumbaugh hitting .326 in the leadoff spot entering this weekend with 9 extra base hits and 11 RBIs. This one is put right back toward Coster for a base hit. Brumbaugh makes his way over to first to start things off for the Huskers.
Well, Coster's had a last tough few games, especially with hard hit contact, and the second pitch of the game goes right back up the middle, relatively hard hit as well. You see it reflects right off of the mound into center field. Now maybe if that bounces a little bit more in favor of Maryland, Honar's there to make a play, but it's a good start for Nebraska. And I watched the sacrifice bunt. They're playing tight at the line on third. In at the corner is Ionaz. I wonder if they'll do this with Silva because they're big fans of whether it's the hit and run or the sacrifice bunt just to advance that runner onto second. They're a big fan of that. Silva has speed to beat out the throw down to first as well.
Pickoff attempt over to first. Brumbaugh will stay there, but kind of a dangerous throw from Coster.
Good decoy by Hacopia, who went back, was trying to sell Brumbaugh and thinking that he could get that out at first.
Silva awaiting the first pitch from Coster here. Puts a bunt down, decently placed. The throw is over to first in time. Has a lot of coverage over at third to make sure they hold Brumbaugh over at second, but a successful sacrifice bunt once again by Riley Silva.
Well, with that bunt on, as I mentioned, Ionaz was in, and no one was over there covering third, so Brumbaugh begins digging for third, thinking, I might have a chance. There's this bunt again, but you see no one's over there at third. This means that Coster's the one who has to flood over to that third base side in order to cover the bag. No one's over there, and then you mentioned everyone has third base covered.
Well, Cole Evans steps into the box with Cayden Brumbaugh now in scoring position. First pitch up high to Evans. Been in a bit of a slump over the last 5 games. Kind of indicative of how Nebraska has been showing up on the scoreboard as well. 3 for his last 20 at the plate with 5 strikeouts total in that stretch. Pitch from Coster, bit into the dirt. Draws the count even at 1-1. 84 miles an hour from Coster there. Can tell a difference in pace between Coster and Sears. Coster working much more slowly, keeping an eye on Silva behind him. Brumbaugh.
He's using as much of that pitch clock as he can as well. Maryland already having trouble, more so the Coster throws, having trouble get to the bag effectively. You have one drop throw at second, and another one that almost goes high and wide of Hacopia at first.
One coming to Evans. Puts this one over to short. Keister making the long throw to first. Good pick. Over at first by Eddie Hacopia. No, they say he was off the bag. So Cole Evans ends up beating the throw out. And the Huskers have 2 on.
Well, it is a good pick, and I wonder if Maryland wants to challenge this. I mean, it's a tremendous play over to short. And then the pick, you can't really tell. I don't know if his foot's on the bag there or not. Hacopia is frustrated that ends up going his way. And then no one from Maryland is wanting to argue this. They're going to let it stand. It's an impressive pick by Hacopia, but a big break for the Huskers, having 2 on now with no one out, or with 1 out.
So Coster facing the left-handed batter, Case Sanderson. with 2 on now. He's got Brumbaugh at second and Cole Evans over at first. Throw back over to second, and again, the throw is a little high from Coster. A little bit nervous, it looks like.
He's wild. He's getting him to home plate, all right, but the throws that are going to second and first are not there.
And we take another look at that long throw from Keister over to first. His bag, or the foot was off the bag by Akopian. Sanderson grounds this one to Coster. Can they turn 2? And the Terps are able to get out of a jam to retire the side. Sanderson grounds into a double play. Top of the second between Nebraska and Maryland, still scoreless here at Haymarket Park as Brett Sears returns to the mound for Big Red. Kevin Keister, the shortstop, stepping into the box for Maryland. The senior from Delaware had a walk-off single on April 7th to give the Maryland Terrapins their 10th win in their final at-bat. This one is put into foul territory. That was their 13th comeback win of the year. It's been quite a pattern for this Maryland team to be able to win when it matters most in the clutch. Sears delivers to Keister, puts this one high in the sky, chasing it down in left, and caught as his hat flies off his head. Cole Evans making the play over in left field.
Good play from Cole Evans chasing that ball down. It hung up there forever, but was dropping really fast. And Evans was playing a lot farther out towards center than I think they were anticipating that ball to go. And great effort by Cole Evans, able to chase that thing down.
Sears deals inside, 91 miles an hour to Braden Martin.
You mentioned it's been quite a season for Maryland, and after the season they had last year, I think this season came by a little bit of a surprise.
And I mentioned before about Keister hitting some walk-offs. Braden Martin has hit a couple of walk-offs as well. Sears, the 2-0. Can't find the strike zone yet. So we'll see what Martin can do here. Ahead 3-0 on the Huskers ace pitcher, maybe the leader and the best pitcher in the conference at this point. Deals his first strike of the at-bat. Martin, the freshman, played at St. John's College High School. And there is the first walk of the day dealt by Brett Sears. Huskers as a team don't really give up too many free bases, so impressive for Martin to be able to pull it off.
They're one of the best teams when it comes to allowing walks, and Brett Sears is one of those guys. He does not walk a whole lot of batters. Comes as a little bit by surprise to walk this now 5th batter of the game.
So the right fielder Jacob Orr steps into the box as his teammate Braden Martin's over at first. We'll see if Sears can dig himself out of this situation. Already 1 down here in the top of the second. Pitch in the dirt to Jacob Orr. And we'll have to keep an eye on the pitch count for Brett Sears today. Last time he pitched here at Haymarket Park, he was able to go 9 complete innings and deliver a shutout performance against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Pickoff attempt over at first as Martin stays alive.
And he did that complete game shutout, I believe, only throwing 108 total pitches, somewhere around there.
Yeah, barely over 100 for Sears, but he's up to 21 at this point here in the top of the second. Chopped foul behind Orr brings the count to 1-2.
Maryland is one of those tough teams that loves to work counts. They're a very good team and a very pesky team at the plate. There's a reason they have so much success, and it's their ability to watch the ball as it comes to the plate on top of staying alive and getting contact.
The 1-2. Popped foul behind Orr once again, so we'll do it again. 93 miles an hour out of the arm of Brett Sears there. Jacob Orr in his 3rd season with Maryland after being the 10th ranked overall recruit out of the state of Maryland. He's brought some production to this Terps team over the last few years. Been a statement this season. Swing and a miss. Strikeout number 2 of the day for Brett Sears.
Well, he responds with high heat and is able to strike out Orr just right, as simple as that. Right there, top of the zone, get him to swing right through it. Swing and a miss and 2 away.
And here's one of the storylines in this game. Michael Iannazzo, the 3rd baseman, the lefty, getting another start today. It's his 4th start of his young career, a freshman from Connecticut. We'll see how he can work here against Sears with 2 down in the top of the 2nd. He's got Braden Martin over at first. Pitch in the strike zone for strike number 2, 94 miles an hour.
Velocity is a tad down from Sears from what we first saw at around the 96 mark.
The 0-2. A tad off the plate, makes it 1-2. Iannazzo saw action in all 3 Northwestern games last weekend. His first look at Nebraska tonight. Pick off to first. Martin easily back in time, just keeping him honest over there.
Infield shift is on as well. If I'm Iannazzo being smart, put a ball down the left side of the line.
That pitch is high and away from Iannazzo. Evens the count at 2 apiece. Went 2 for 4 in his first start against Northwestern last weekend. 1-2 in the midweek against Delaware. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. The 3rd strikeout of the night for Brett Sears as he's able to get out of a bit of a jam in the top of the 2nd. Keeps this game scoreless as we bring the Husker offense up in the bottom on Big Ten Plus. Josh Cayden stepping up to the plate for Nebraska in a scoreless ball game here in the bottom of the 2nd on Big Ten Plus. Jake Schrott's and Bobby Hessling with you tonight. Thanks for joining us for Game 1 of this 3-game series as Logan Coster sends the first pitch inside for ball number 1. 89 miles an hour out of the arm of Coster. Josh Cayden was named the Buster Posey National Collegiate Catcher of the Year watch list member earlier this week. Pretty impressive stuff from the junior.
Well, it shows how impressive that he has been this year, and his numbers prove it too. 308 average, 384 on base. His slugging is really good as well. 7 home runs, 40 RBIs, leads this team.
Cayden puts this one over to the left side, gets through the glove of Keister, and Cayden reaches first base safely.
And it starts like that, just putting a ball into the outfield, and it goes right underneath the glove of Keister as well. Hard for him to make a play. I think that's a play he should make as well. But they rule that a single, and it's a good piece of hitting from Josh Cayden.
So 2 innings a row, Coster delivers a pitch that goes for a single for the leadoff batter for Nebraska. Now we'll see what Ben Columbus can do. He's found a bit of a hot streak as of late as he awaits the first pitch from Coster. High and away, Ben Columbus, after having just 5 hits in Nebraska's first 24 games this season, he's gone 7 for 16 with a double, 2 home runs, and 8 RBIs in the last 10 games. Coster delivers the 1-0. Columbus fouls it off. And even though Nebraska hasn't been winning much over the last week or so, Columbus has been an example of one of the positives in a rough stretch in the middle of the season.
Yeah, they've really valued his success at the plate in driving in runs. Granted, they haven't been getting blown out in too many games. They're losing close. And he's a big reason because of that as well in terms of making sure they're alive in these games.
That 1-1 is high and inside, 84 miles an hour from Coster.
I mean, when you're over a 10-game stretch and you're batting well over 400, you're doing something pretty well.
The 2-1 to Columbus is away. And Coach Bolt earlier this week talked about Ben Columbus essentially forcing his way into the lineup with his level of play. He said he has had great at-bats. He's forced his way into the lineup. What he's done is he's handled left-handers and right-handers pretty well, according to Coach Bolt, as he handles the righty Coster here. That one might have been foul tip, making the count 3-2.
Coster wants to step off and thought that should have been probably a strikeout, but he's got to redo and set again.
So full count coming to Ben Columbus with Josh Cayden over at first. Here it comes. This one is lined and down for a base hit, back-to-back singles for the Huskers.
Simple as that. You have one that's grounded in left field, and that time Ben Columbus rips one into right. Simple as that. Hard hit contact. It's really, it's hurt Coster in the grand scheme of things as well, where he's just had trouble allowing this hard hit contact. And now you're facing Dylan Carey, who his bat has also improved as of late as well. Earlier this season, numbers really weren't there. Last 10 games, the numbers are there. You really like Dylan Carey at the plate right now.
12 hits in the last 10 games, along with 3 home runs to be exact. We'll see if he can put some power on display here as he faces Logan Coster with 2 on. Dylan Carey started the 2024 season ranked as a top 10 MLB draft eligible prospect in the Big Ten. Coster delivers the 1-0. Carey puts this one high in the sky to shallow right. Coming in and calling off his teammate is Jacob Orr for the first out of the inning.
Carey just got underneath it. I think that's one of those pitches he wants to have back. The sky at that high looked like he was going to make good contact on it as well. You're going to bring up Clay Bradford. And Bradford this season, grand numbers as well, 231, 394, 577, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. He's a guy that's not played a whole lot, but he's playing more and more as the season has gone on. One of those rotational pieces in this Husker lineup.
Bradford getting the start at the DH today, just his 7th start of the season. Spent 2 years at St. Mary's, Texas. 2 seasons, though shortened by the pandemic seasons at Temple College as well. As Bradford waits for the 1-0, in there for strike 1. Josh Cayden over at second, Ben Columbus at first. We'll see if Bradford can untie this scoreless ball game here in the bottom of the second. That one a little bit inside, 90 miles an hour though from Logan Coster.
Coster doesn't have the same velocity that we've seen Brett Sears have. I think that gives an advantage to Nebraska, but they're not used to seeing velocity this low in the 90s, from a right-hander especially.
Swing and a miss from Bradford. Evens the count at 2-2. Coster was part of the George Washington baseball program from 2020 until last season. As he delivers the 2-2, this one is ground over to second. Honar makes the play, and the Terps turn 2. Solid job by Coster to get out of that jam.
Well, another grounded and double play as well. And we've seen Coster now throw back-to-back inning-ending grounded and double play balls. We mentioned he's not a strikeout pitcher, and if he's not doing that and he's getting those ground balls to go his way, it's going to work out in his advantage. 2 clean innings thus far in terms of scoring for Maryland.
Still scoreless heading into the third. We'll see if Maryland can gain some momentum in this one when we come back on Big Ten Plus.
Start of inning number 3, Maryland and Nebraska. No score between these two teams. And Brett Sears so far has just done a wonderful job. He's already got 3 strikeouts for 2 innings of work. Has not allowed a hit. Has only allowed 1 walk. Has gone out and done his thing and just absolutely be dominant. First pitch to Alex Calarco is a called ball up and away at 91 miles an hour. Bobby Hessling and Jacob Schrantz.
Yeah, Brett Sears, I mean, whenever he's in Haymarket Park, he's at his best. That's been the story all season.
As that pitch is lined into left field, down the line. It's at the track and foul. One hops into the Nebraska bullpen. A big dodge from Brett Sears because there was really no one covering that line, and that could have gotten down and been extra bases for Calarco.
Yeah, Cole Evans had quite a lot of space to make up over there. As if that would have stayed fair, that would have been no doubt extra bases for the catcher Calarco.
Calarco 217, 364. 1-1 fouled off to the left side. Watch out in the second deck. The count moves to 1-2. 19 driven in and 4 home runs for Calarco, a transfer from Northwestern. 1-2 upstairs on Calarco, and the count is run even, 2 balls and 2 strikes at 94 miles an hour from Brett Sears. Sears was the day 1 starter for Nebraska this season, and he has been that number 1 series starter. That's lined into right field. Coming on in and making the catch is Case Sanderson, 1 away. Brings up Elijah Lambros, but you go back, Sears that first game of the year against Baylor looked really good, and I think everyone on Nebraska thought, okay, maybe this is one of our options to be our Friday, Saturday starter, and he fully accepted that role as Friday starter and has just been dominant this season. First pitch to Elijah Lambros is low, call the ball.
In this inning so far, Maryland's been able to get the bat on the ball of Sears. We'll see if that continues to be a pattern. They've been elevating it pretty well here.
Yeah, 1-1 called a strike, 1 ball and 1 strike. Lambros 277, 371 on base, 453 slugging, 4 home runs with 30 RBIs. 1-1 to Elijah Lambros, called a strike. Outside part of the plate, but got enough of it. This is a Maryland team that loves to drive in runs as well, but it's hard to do when there's not a whole lot of guys on base. 1-2 to Lambros is low, called the ball. It counts even again, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sears deals home on the 2-2. Outside, called strike 3 though, and there are 2 away in this 3rd inning.
Yeah, that's the first looking strikeout for Maryland tonight, but the 4th total strikeout of the day from Brett Sears. Chris Koski, the home plate umpire, maybe giving a little bit of a gift to Sears there, but we'll see if it's consistent the rest of the way.
First pitch to Chris Hakopian, bounced foul left side. And it was outside as well, just caught enough of the plate on the outside to be rung up for strike 3 by Chris Koski. Sears sets, deals home on the 0-1, hit in the air deep into left field at the track, at the wall. It is gone. Chris Hakopian into left field makes it 1-0 Maryland.
What a swing of the bat from Chris Hakopian, the freshman, catching one of the best pitchers in the entire Big Ten Conference in the country and sending him deep to left center. How about that? Struck out in his first at-bat, and then just look at the way he got on that baseball as Cole Evans and Riley Silva could do nothing but watch it leave the yard. And all of a sudden, Maryland's got the lead.
That is the first run at Haymarket Park that Brett Sears has allowed since March 9th against South Alabama. First pitch to Eddie Hakopian is called a strike on the outer half of the plate. Since March 9th. That's impressive.
It's over a month at this point.
It is. A month and 10 days. 0-1 called a strike at 94 miles an hour. 0-2 home, fouled off to the right side.
And it doesn't really get much easier. You give up a home run to Chris Akopian. His older brother Eddie steps right up to the plate. It's almost reminiscent of Husker softball with Billy and Brooke Andrews.
No, it really is, because Eddie Akopian as well, unlike Nebraska softball, he's the better hitter between him and Chris Akopian. 0-2 outside at 74 miles an hour. Nebraska fans thought that was strike 3, but it was outside. Sears 1-2 home. Fouled off himself, and Hakopian might need a second to gather himself here. That's one of those things that stings. If you don't wear padding on that foot, or maybe it caught the toe.
And that's something that Maryland cannot afford at this point in the season, to have one of your best players on the lineup a little bit shaken up.
Yeah, I wonder where this tagged him, because it's not his protected foot. I'm pretty sure it caught him on the unprotected foot, where you see it again, and yeah, that is right off the top of his right foot. That's not protected. It's one of those things. It does not feel good, because he takes that fastball and he just ricochets it off himself. It's got to leave a stinger.
And Akopian's a tough kid. He's stepping right back into the box after a quick moment, and the umpire gave him.
1-2. Fouls it off. It's off the press box, and then lands back into the stands. Count again, even 1-2. Sears looks, steals home. Down and out. Count even at 81 mile an hour pitch. 2-2. Sears swing and a miss. Strike 3. Eddie Hakopian goes down. Strikeout number 5 for Brett Sears. One hit. It was a home run for Maryland, and they have a 1-0 lead over Nebraska. We go bottom 3 on Big Ten Plus. Bottom of the 3rd inning, 1-0 Maryland on top of Nebraska. The weather here in Lincoln earlier this week, it was very warm. Tonight, not so much warmer. It's 53 degrees, feels like 50. Wind isn't as violent as it could be, so I would say this checks out for mid-April, Jake.
Yeah, we were wondering before the game how much the wind would impact fly balls today, but in the top of the 3rd, we just saw Chris Akopian send one over the outfield fence, so it doesn't seem like it'll be holding too many baseballs in the park today.
It is a hitter-friendly park at times. The first pitch to Josh Overbeek is a called ball. I wouldn't say, at times, it just kind of depends on the day, I would say. And a day like this where it's a little bit colder, it's more so pitcher-friendly, but hitters do love to come here and absolutely rake at this ballpark, regardless if it's Nebraska, the visitor, or even the Salt Dogs are their visitor. Overbeek batting .262 this season. 2-0 home. Called a strike at the bottom of the zone. 404 on base, 338 slugging, 1 home run, 7 RBIs. I mentioned Overbeek has got a Mohawk type look now. Is this what we're rocking with?
Yeah, that's something new, trying to switch up the mojo a little bit for Nebraska.
2-1 hit in the air to deep right center field at the track, at the wall. Josh Overbeek goes deep, and this game is even at 1.
Well, that's quite a response.
He crushed it. He absolutely crushed that ball into deep right.
I don't know if the Mohawk was what gave him that extra power, but what a response. You take another look, and he just lifts that one off the pitch of Logan Coster to right center. That one left the fence in a hurry.
It hit the back fence of Haymarket Park. Can't imagine how far that is, but it is a long way from home plate. That brings up Cayden Brumbaugh. Singled his first time up. First pitch is high at 84 miles an hour. And now I think Coster's he's a little bit rattled now.
Yeah, you have to think so. I mean, you give up a leadoff home run to the 9-man in the Husker order.
1-0 called the ball upstairs as well. And he's allowed hard hit contact first batter of every single inning. Hard hit contact to Brumbaugh, Cayden, and now Overbeek. And Overbeek with the hardest into deep right center. 2-0 just misses low, and the count is now 3-0. You give the green light here to Cayden Brumbaugh?
You got to think so. I mean, he's playing pretty well offensively. He's got that leadoff spot for a reason. He's hitting over 300.
3-0. Ball 4. He didn't need the green light. So it is a walk for Cayden Brumbaugh. And a 1-1 tie. And that brings up Riley Silva. Earlier we saw Riley Silva do the sacrifice bunt. Maybe do it again, especially with the speed they have at Brumbaugh. And if this bunt is a little bit softer, he's got that opportunity to beat it out too.
Yeah, he's got that track speed, Riley Silva does, and we saw him almost reach first base on the first attempt on the sac bunt, but the throw was just in time. We'll see how potentially a second one happens.
Shows bunt, pulls back, but it's called a strike. 85 miles an hour from Coster.
And I don't know how many sacrifice bunts are being tracked this season for Riley Silva, but he has been extremely effective on those attempts. Whoever's batting first in the Husker order usually gets over to second.
Well, usually you'd want a bit of a speed demon in Riley Silva as your leadoff guy and a contact guy, and Silva is that. But Brumbaugh's a little bit better at it, and Silva's able to be a great two-hole hitter and advance the runner and still have that speed. Silva shows bunt. Pulls back, hits it back up the middle, a base hit. Brumbaugh around second, digging for third. He will get in safely. Runners at the corners and no one out, and then it's going to bring up Cole Evans.
And how about that? Riley Silva showing I'm not just a sacrifice bunt guy. I can put one right back up toward Logan Custer and make my way over to first.
We're going to have a meeting on the mound. There is no movement in the Maryland bullpen. This means it is a typical mound visit. And Jimmy Jackson's going to go out there and try to settle down his starter. 3 straight hits allowed from Logan Coster. And I think it's simple. It's just let's attack these next few batters the best way possible and not allow any more runs to cross the plate.
And with runners at the corners, no outs here in the bottom of the third, it is getting dangerous for Logan Coster on the mound. He has got to figure out a way to maybe get a double play here, go get Silva as he's on his way over to second. But I think you got to figure out a way to get a pitch that the Huskers are going to put on the ground. That's the key.
By the way, Overbeek's home run, 449 feet. That is a long way from home plate.
That it is.
Exit velo at 111, launch angle 24 degrees, and traveled 449. So Cole Evans steps to plate. His first time up, he reached via an error. That was a throwing error from Keister over to Copia at first. Copia's foot was off the bag. Evans checks on the runner. They want to balk, and they're going to get it. It's going to drive in the run as well. Brumbaugh's going to score. Silva goes to second on the balk from Logan Coster. And it's a tough look for Maryland.
Yeah, this crowd is alive at this point. Now you've got Riley Silva in scoring position. If a ball touches the grass in the outfield,
he's going to score.
That's a score for Nebraska.
He's going to score. So it's 2-1 Nebraska. Now the first pitch to Cole Evans. Called a strike on the outside corner.
And Coster's had a lot of trouble today on anything that wasn't a pitch toward a Husker batter. We've seen throws on the pickoff attempts go high, almost over the glove of the defenders. And there's the balk just a moment ago.
0-1. Outside. Count even 1 ball and 1 strike. 85 miles an hour to the hands of Coster. 1-1 from Coster to Cole Evans with Silva standing at second base. Swing and a miss. Evans swung right through it, 83 miles an hour. Foul tipped into the glove as well. Still no one out, and 2 runs have already crossed the plate for the Huskers. And a ball gets down somewhere in the outfield. Riley Silva's going to score as that's fouled off behind home plate. Count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. Infield playing deep on the left side. On the right side playing relatively standard as well. When you look at things, the 1-2 to Cole Evans. Misses low, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It looks like Evans is very comfortable just waiting on these pitches. Still no outs here in the bottom of the 3rd. He's not going to swing at something that he doesn't like.
No, he will not. As he fouls that one off into the protected netting, and will do it again. In the last season, Cole Evans, really good year, 305, 415, 454 slugging, 4 home runs, 27 RBIs. This season, the numbers are a little bit down, but the RBI numbers are actually up this season, and he has just been absolutely phenomenal in terms of driving and runs. The production is still about the same, just a tad bit low. 2-2, swing and a miss. Strike 3, Cole Evans goes down swinging, and that is the first out in the bottom of the 3rd. Now we'll bring up Case Sanderson.
And that was just the first strikeout of the evening for this Nebraska lineup. So after giving up a home run, about a balk that scores a run for Nebraska, maybe that's the confidence boost that Logan Coster needs at this point.
Especially on a strikeout like that against such a good hitter in Josh Cayden. Sanderson fouls us off to the left side. Out of play, right by the Sweets. Count sits 0-1. Silva still at second base with 1 away here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Oh, 1. Sanderson watches this one cross over the plate for strike 2 at 90 miles an hour. Josh Cayden on deck. Cayden singled in the 2nd inning. Last time up for Sanderson, he grounded into an inning-ending double play. 0-2 off the plate, called a ball. It would take some sort of level to get Sanderson to ground into double play here, especially with Silva at second base. No one at first, no one at third either. 1-2 fouled off into the netting. We'll do it again. But Nebraska's had 2 innings now, both in a row in double plays. I think they would like to end that in some sort of way. They obviously don't want this inning to end, but it will come to a close eventually. One, 2 from Sanderson, fouled off to the left side. This is going to escape the field of play and reach just over the berm into the concourse. And we'll do it again.
Coster now up to 46 pitches here in the bottom of the 3rd.
Being very patient as well. Eats up most of that pitch clock. As he set with about 8 and deals home. Inside, nearly hit Sanderson. The count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. That's the fastest we've seen Coster throw at 91 miles an hour on the radar gun. Sanderson has Silva standing at second base with 1 away. The 2-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts from Logan Coster, and Sanderson is down via the strikeout, and Josh Cayden will step to the plate.
And we'll see if Cayden can start to recover some of that momentum, as that was a great pitch from Coster. Just some trailing movement down toward home plate. And Sanderson thought he liked that pitch, but caught nothing but air right there.
Josh Cayden steps to the plate, his first time up, singled. First pitch he sees is a called strike as it's able to drop in 85 miles an hour. 40 RBIs for Josh Cayden, leads the team. It's also his career high. In his third year with the Huskers, he has only gotten better and better year in and year out. 0-1 swings right through it. At 83 miles an hour is well in front of him. The count is 0-2. Coster finally hit that 50 pitch mark as well. Coster sets and deals home. Swing and a miss, strike three. 3 straight strikeouts from Logan Coster to end the third inning. But Nebraska was able to get 2 hits, including a home run from Josh Overbeek, and a balk scored in a run, which gave Nebraska a 2-1 advantage over Maryland. We go 4. Brett Sears so far has just done his thing. He's gone out and gotten 5 strikeouts, 4 of them via the swing and the miss, and the other one he got Elijah Lambros looking.
Yeah, we're taking a look at all of these different strikeouts from Brett Sears. He just has a knack of getting those swing and miss from his opponents. He doesn't throw insanely fast. It is college baseball. He's up in the low to mid 90s, but he's just able to attack the strike zone. We've seen a lot of pitches up high with that fastball, and that's where he's had a ton of success this evening, and we'll see if he can continue it here in the 4th, 5th, and beyond.
Yeah, he has just been flat out impressive so far. 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, and that was a home run that he allowed to Chris Akopian not too long ago, and I think it was a mistake pitch as well. It's not one of those pitches where he wanted it. And he's been phenomenal at home. You wonder how phenomenal has he been. That home run was the first run that he has allowed since March 9th. Earlier this season, in the first home game he pitched against South Alabama.
Yeah, and Sears, he's one of 2 pitchers in the entire country to enter this weekend with an active streak of 8 consecutive quality starts. That means he pitches at least 6 innings and allows 3 runs or fewer.
First pitch to Sam Honar. Fouled out of play. A few fans trying to make a grab on it, but landed on the concrete. Honar so far has popped out. That's been it. His second time up here in this 4th inning. So he lines one into right field. That might get down. It will. One hops all the way over to Sanderson, and that's as far as he'll get. And a leadoff single. So back-to-back innings with some hard contact allowed from Sears. Honar not able to get all of it. He was a little bit out in front of it as well. It's the reason it drops in so quickly. Brings up Kevin Keister. Keister so far has flown out in his second time up.
There's still no action in either bullpen, so both teams look like they'll be riding it out with their starters for a bit longer.
Oh, 1 to Keister. This is low. Karen was able to block it. Runner doesn't advance. And there's that look at Honar over at first. Honar has okay speed. He's stolen 5 bases as that's lined into left center field. Not deep enough. And playable for Cole Evans as he makes the catch to 1 away in this 4th inning.
Once again, Keister puts one in the sky, but just not enough on it to get down or leave the park. So Honar will get left over at first. So solid job by Sears there to recover after giving up that leadoff single.
Brings up Braden Martin. Martin earlier today was able to walk. He was the first runner that Sears has allowed today as that's fouled off the left side. Right by us. As a few fans scurry for that baseball. Count sits at 0-1. A 1 to Martin. That is lined into left center field. That will get down. Honar digging for third. It's going to be a tight play. He is safe. No, they got him. First look, it looked like he was going to be safe, but the relay throw is able to get Sam Honar on the double from Braden Martin.
Very close play over there at third. Wouldn't be surprised if Maryland wants to take another look at it, but what a job defensively to get that ball back into the infield. Great contact by Braden Martin to get that one down in left center, but just look at this throw from Carey. A rifle over to the third base bag and then the tag by Overbeek.
Yeah, they're going to look at this. I wonder if we will be able to see a different view of it as Sam Honar is now going back out to third base. He really had no argument over at third, and I think it's because of the way he slid. He slid kind of funny, where he just got caught up underneath his own feet, and he wasn't able to slide away from the bag as best as he could.
It did seem like a bit of an unnecessary try to get over there at third. I mean, a ball over to the left side of the outfield, usually you don't see a guy try to go in from second to third.
Yeah, you see, I feel like he just kind of lost his feet on it. And
also Overbeek's leg was kind of in front of the base path a little bit, so that's, to me, that seems like the reason why he slid a little bit off center.
Well, and he reached across the leg of Overbeek as well, which is not normal because his foot is, it's not like it's playing the bag, it's off the bag. So if anything, you would want to play your right arm playing across, trying to slide with it to the base. I mean, that's an interesting decision for multiple reasons from Sam Honar. One, digging for third in that case with the ball hit to left field. Two, it's such a strange slide. I can't really tell if he's out or not. Obviously, there are different angles that the ballpark has that we don't. Here's the best look that we're going to get. As I think Honar, he ends up going.
That seems pretty conclusive to me. I think Overbeek might have got him on the back.
It's
an aggressive base running move in a close game in the top of the fourth.
It is. But his back also goes up. That's the thing where it got me, because I'm like, you're sliding, but he was turning on the slide as well, where he ends up being on his belly. Yeah, it's a very unnormal, very unusual slide. And here's the call. He's out. Call stands. First look, thought we might have gotten it right, was safe. The umpires set out originally, and then we go back and look at it, and the umpires were right. It's a very interesting slide. It's going to take me a while to get over that, but.
Nonetheless, though, Braden Martin did make it over to second. So even though Sam Honar got gunned down over at third, still someone in scoring position to work with.
As Jacob Orr lines one into left field, that is going to get down and is going to get by the left fielder, Cole Evans. Drives in a run, throw into second, is not in time and gets by Cayden Brumbaugh. And we are tied at 2 in the top of the fourth inning.
Solid job by Jacob Orr to make his way over to second on that play. That goes for an RBI, and just a really tough play for Cole Evans there. Kind of a tough decision as you see the sliding effort over at second. Ball went flying by. But just like that, we're all evened up.
Well, he tries to pick it off the ground, and I think he wants to get the out and not allow the run to score. As Iannazo drives one into right center field. Very shallow right center. Brumbaugh not able to make the catch. Another run's going to score for the Terrapins. And sliding into second is Michael Iannazo. Huskers defense are really falling apart in this top of the fourth.
I'm not sure if they're going to mark that as an error out there by Brumbaugh, but man, a lot of dropped balls in this inning for the Nebraska defense. Got to figure out a way to close this thing out. There's been 2 outs for what seems like a long time after the replay and then a couple of these mishaps by the Husker defense.
Well, that falls into what's considered the Bermuda's Triangle. And Rob Childress is going to go out and have a meeting to settle down Sears. There's really not too much Sears can do. He's allowed some hard hit contact, but that most recent fly ball into shallow right center, I mean, that's a really good pitch to get it on the hands. That's just not a play made by the defense in order to end the inning, because this could be a 2-2 ball game. It could also be a 2-1 ball game in favor of Nebraska, but it's not.
I still like this decision, though, to just calm the defense down, let them know, hey, you got 2 outs. You don't need to be trying to make some sort of crazy play. Just make the out and get the Husker bats back up, as it seems like things are starting to fall apart, and you can't afford to let bad defense ruin a potential longer outing from your best pitcher.
I absolutely agree on that. So Sears, following the mound visit, is going to be able to loosen up a little bit, and they are going to say Ionazo doubled. So 3 straight doubles that Brett Sears has allowed. Braden Martin doubled. And then you saw Jacob Orr, who doubled and scored a run, and Michael Ionazo doubled and was able to score a run himself. And it's 3-2 Maryland on top of Nebraska, as it brings up Alex Calarco as he followed his first pitch off into the protected netting. 0-1 home from Sears. Strike 2. Calarco flew out his first time up. The 0-2. Chopped right back to Sears, gathers, jogs over to first. Top half of the 4th is complete. 3 hits, 2 runs in that inning for the Terrapins. 3 of them being doubles and the single. So it's 4 hits and 2 runs for Maryland with 1 left on. 3-2 Terrapins on top of the Huskers here on Big Ten Plus.
Two runs after Brumbaugh scored on a balk from Logan Coster, but after that pretty rough top of the 4th, they've got to come back with a lot of momentum to at least even this game up.
First pitch to Ben Columbus is a called strike. Columbus, his first time up, has singled. And that's all he's done. Dylan Carey and Clay Bradford will follow. 0-1 to Columbus. Misses low. Count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. And I will say, I do have to give credit out there to Logan Coster. He has done a very good job after a lot of rough outings he's faced. As the 1-2 not able to dance into the zone, sits outside at 2-1.
Yeah, it was a decent try by Calarco to try to frame that pitch, but our home plate umpire Koski was not fooled by that one.
2-1. Fouled off to the left side in the protected netting. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. No out here in the bottom of the 4th inning between Maryland and Nebraska. I think this was a game that a lot of Husker fans had circled on their calendar. Not just this game, but this series, because Maryland last year won the Big Ten tournament. 2-2. Hit in the air deep into right field. Back at the track. At the wall. It's gone. Ben Columbus ties the game at 3 with a solo blast in back-to-back innings with a leadoff home run that has been given up from Logan Coster. Out of Ben Columbus. As Dylan Carey shows bunt but pulls back. That's called the ball. But as I was saying before, Ben Columbus went deep. Maryland won the Big Ten tournament last year. They beat it over Iowa. They beat this Nebraska team twice, the 1-0. Fouled off directly behind us. Count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. Where I think a lot of Nebraska fans like, all right, we'll get to see where our team matches against their team. Now, Maryland is not the same team that they were last year. They lost a lot of talent. 1-1 to Dylan Carey. Hit deep in the air into left center field. Not deep enough. Coming on in and making the catch out there in left field And we've really seen how Nebraska's matched with them. As the first pitch to Clay Bradford is called the ball. What also helps for the Huskers is playing Minnesota later in the year and playing Northwestern earlier in the season as well to give them those conference wins.
You mentioned the difficulty of the conference schedule. That's where all of these midweek non-conference losses are really hurting the Huskers on that schedule at this point. Back-to-back losses against Creighton. They've got one more chance at them, but then you've got a couple of games mixed in there as well from other opponents. That's just where you really would like to see Nebraska pick up a couple.
2-0 called a strike. They're saying that he went around. And Creighton is no slap-around team either. They are a very, very good baseball team. I was up there in Omaha on April 2nd for that game, and they were very compelling then. Kansas is another good one. That time Bradford, he did go around. The count even to 2 balls and 2 strikes. But you remember last year the reason why Nebraska didn't get in to the College World Series is because their midweek games were against Summit League teams that they really struggled against. North Dakota State, South Dakota State. They struggled against UNO, Omaha. And now that they bumped that up, they're making it a little bit tougher. That runs inside nearly hit Bradford. The count is full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Where they're making a more compelling case of saying, okay, this is why we should be in the College World Series. And what's helped is they won a lot more non-conference games earlier this season. Didn't lose as many, but they need to win some more of these conference games as well. So that's fouled off to the right side. Count remains full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. But also having to win the conference games. You like to at least take one from your in-state rival in Creighton, but they also haven't lost a whole lot of bad games either.
And for Nebraska, with the way that Brett Sears and Mason McConaughey, that dynamic duo on a Friday, Saturday, the way they've been pitching.
Is that 3-2 lined into right field, a base hit for Clay Bradford. Reaches aboard with a 1-out single, which we've seen over the skid has not happened for the Cornhuskers. They tried to check on the runner. He got back in plenty of time. Clark was going to be a starter. McConaughey might have been a starter. They know the rotation a little bit. First pitch is outside to Overbeek. Overbeek went deep into right field last time up. But going back to my point is the rotation isn't as big as I think they were expecting. It's a really narrowed down where you don't have Drew Christo there. You don't really have Caleb Clark there. Digging for second on a steal attempt and getting there in plenty of time is Clay Bradford. He steals second with 1 out. He took off, and he got in by plenty of time.
Yeah, good jump there from Bradford to get himself in scoring position. And now Overbeek, who is 1 for 1 with a home run, has a chance to bring in Bradford over from second.
Has a chance to give Nebraska the lead right back in this bottom of the 4th inning. Bradford dancing at second. Overbeek fouls it off the left side.
But back to your point about the bullpen, I think something that Coach Bolt has talked a lot about this week is the fact that Will Walsh, they struggled to be able to get him appearances on the mound because they also like to use his bat so much because he's so effective as a two-way player.
And I think Will Walsh is someone that needs to be used as a starter a little bit more and not so much in the bullpen. 2-1 is called the ball outside, 3-1. Like Walsh started the game against Creighton on April 2nd, but before that was also a weekend starter as well, where you think, okay, maybe you can go back and have him be your Sunday starter, and he still plays Friday, Saturday in the lineup, and then pitches on Sunday, obviously not in the lineup today. Overbeek fouls that off the left side. Count remains 3-1. Will Walsh has also been relatively quiet as of late. Really ever since that Creighton game hasn't been the same exact player I think we all expected. Now, if he was playing the way he did in that week at the Nichols series where he was batting like .750, I think Nebraska fans would be pretty happy about that. 3-2, ball 4. And Overbeek draws a walk. Turns the lineup back over to Cayden Brumbaugh. And 2 are on, 1 is out. And Cayden Brumbaugh has singled and has walked. His 2 times up, so he's 1 for 1. He's got an opportunity to give Nebraska this lead right back as well. He's got good speed at second. He's got decent speed at first in Overbeek. First pitch to Cayden Brumbaugh. Call the ball upstairs at 84 miles an hour. No one in the bullpen for Maryland right now warming or even tossing.
And that's interesting to me. 72 pitches in the bottom of the fourth for Logan Coster. I mean, yeah, I know it's a tie game at 3 apiece, and we're nearing halfway through this ball game, but for it to be completely a ghost town in the bullpen is very interesting.
And with 1 out, 2 on, and Coster's allowed a lot of hard hit contact as well. 1-0 upstairs, called a ball. 83 miles an hour, 2-0. It's interesting because I feel like there should be someone at least tossing. Maybe not full-fledged warming up, but at least a little bit of soft toss going on in the bullpen. 2-0 to Cayden Brumbaugh. Skied in the air, foul. Out of play, and that is the first strike. Counts it's a 2-1.
And this has been quite the battle, too, between Coster and Sears today. Sears with a couple more strikeouts, but we saw in the bottom of the third, Coster can go get 3 strikeouts in a row when he's feeling good. It hasn't been quite the same story here in the bottom of the fourth, but when he finds the strike zone, he can stick on it.
2-1 to Cayden Brumbaugh. They check on the runner at second. Bradford got back in plenty of time. The pickoff move over to second with the righty is so tough because he has to spin back around. And when Bradford doesn't have a big lead over there, he's only got about a 7-8 foot lead. It's tough to get him. More so you're just checking on him, making sure he's honest. Now they check on him again, and that throw a little high nearly got away from the second baseman and Sam Honar. That time makes sense. Bradford really dancing and flirting with stealing going to third base.
He's already stolen one to get over there at second, so it's probably in the back of the mind of Logan Coster already.
2-1, swing and a miss. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Scoreboard says 3-1, but we know that was a swing and a miss, so the count is even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 on, 1 out, bottom of the fourth inning. Runners take off. That is into right field and down. Clay Bradford will score. Nebraska will have the lead. Cayden Brumbaugh will make it a 5-3 ball game. A 2-run double from Cayden Brumbaugh drives in Josh Overbeek and Clay Bradford on the hit and run. Both runners were taken off.
Yeah, that ball was almost perfectly placed by Cayden Brumbaugh, as now a couple of Maryland players are heading to the bullpen to warm up some arms. No one specific yet, but after giving up 2 runs right there for Logan Coster, that one might cost him some time in this game. Still only the bottom of the fourth, but 77 pitches in.
Brings up Riley Silva. He's got a runner at second with really good speed that can double the score of Maryland. And we're going to have time as another Terrapin slowly jogs out to the outfield bullpen. Nebraska crowd let him hear it too and said, "Get your butt out there faster." There he goes. 2-run RBI double from Cayden Brumbaugh opens the scoring and gives Nebraska the lead right back. First pitch to Riley Silva, called to strike after he showed bunt.
Not sure if Silva's going to go for the bunt or start swinging his bat here. He's had success with both of them already today.
Oh, 1 to Riley Silva. Ground ball off to second. Picked by Honar, throws over to first, 2 away. Advances the runner onto third as well. So Cayden Brumbaugh 90 feet away from scoring with 2 outs as Cole Evans steps up to the plate. Last time up, he struck out. His first time up reached via an error. He's 0 of 2 today. Last time up with that strikeout, it was just Logan Coster locking in and getting 3 straight strikeouts as a flock of birds flies right over Haymarket Park and then spreads out as they hit the concourse roughly.
Yeah, at least 100 birds going over the top of Logan Coster in Haymarket Park.
First pitch to Cole Evans, called a strike. That is the old-fashioned flyover, as we call it. The 0-1 to Cole Evans. Lined into left field and down. Hugging the line, will get all the way to the wall. And Cole Evans makes it 6-3 on a stand-up RBI double.
Well, he had 30 RBIs coming into this weekend, and 31 makes a huge difference in this ball game. And the Huskers keep it rolling.
6-3 Nebraska on top of Maryland, and Case Sanderson steps to the plate. Last time up, he struck out. First time up, grounded into an inning-ending double play. And I asked a few Nebraska staffers before this game, what's it like after dropping a series to Rutgers and losing to Creighton? It says, we know Sears can go out there and do the best job he can, but the bats need to do their part and come alive. And they have done that tonight, and they have really got some hard-hit contact off of Coster, and that thing was a laser down the left field line.
And over in the Maryland bullpen, there's still not really any baseballs in the air. Still a lot of just, I don't know, band work or stretching from all those guys back there. They might have to hurry up a little bit.
And you really don't want to rush a pitcher's process as well, because they don't want to have any ligament damage. Makes complete sense as well. But it's one of those things, why wasn't that taken care of earlier in getting a guy out into that bullpen? Because we mentioned when this game was still tied at 3, it seemed a little interesting that the Terrapins at least didn't have someone out there with how high the pitch count is for Logan Coster, but it seems like this is going to be his inning to finish.
Yeah, that's really the point, right? It wasn't even necessarily that Coster was struggling too badly. It was pretty even with Brett Sears. It was more just about the pitch count. Getting up above 70 pitches, there was no real possible way that he was going to be able to go that much longer in this game with the way things were going. And on the Nebraska side of things, they don't really have anybody warming up too much either, so could be a sign for this game.
2-1. Sanderson's swings and misses right through in the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now, Brett Sears, he's sat for a long period of time as well, so that arm is starting to cool down a little bit. It would have to assume that he feels a little bit more refreshed when he goes out there. 2-2 outside in the count even at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Some of these Nebraska fans trying to get in the mind of Logan Coster as well, as he sits at 86 pitches. The 3-2. Called ball 4, and Sanderson will draw a walk.
Now with Josh Caron coming to the plate, Huskers are inching close to batting around here in the 4th.
Caron singled his first time up, struck out his last time up, and has 2 on with 2 outs. In Nebraska ahead 6-3 over the Terrapins, and Logan Coster trying to get out of this inning now with a lot more movement in that bullpen for the Terrapins. More guys beginning to throw. First pitch to Caron, called a ball at 83 miles an hour. Coster looks, now deals the 1-0 home. This is a called ball at 84 miles an hour. Nebraska bats have really came to life, especially after what's kind of a rough weekend out in New Jersey against Rutgers. And then against Creighton, who's really owned them the last number of games. I mean, you go back, the last 25 games have almost been all in favor of Creighton. They lead the series, I want to say 14-11 in the last 25 over the Huskers. I think that sounds right. Especially the last 10 has just gone all the way of the Blue Jays. And to come alive against a good Maryland team and put together an outing like this, you have to be pleased. 3-0, skied, right side, foul ground, shading over and making the catch is Eddie Hacopia. And the fourth inning comes to a close. 4 runs cross the plate for the Huskers, a lot of hard-hit contact, and they have taken the lead over Maryland. They lead 6-3 as we go to the 5th inning here on Big Ten Plus.
As we head into the top of the 5th, Brett Sears, after quite a long time in the dugout, returns to the mound as he is ready to face 9-1 and 2 in this Maryland order. Elijah Lambros, the junior from Fredericksburg, Virginia, ready to lead off here in the top of the 5th. If you're just joining us, Brett Sears with 5 strikeouts already today. This one is put high in the sky. Still in the infield. Who's going to play it? It's Overbeek making the catch. First out of the inning.
Much better defensive presence this inning compared to last inning, where defense at moments looked like it was falling apart for the Cornhuskers. It's also refreshing to see Brett Sears get out there and just work again a lot faster compared to Logan Coster, and assume that Mr. Coster's day is come to a close.
And here comes where one of the main challenges to Brett Sears has been today. Chris Hacopian, the freshman, went long in the top of the 3rd with a solo shot to give Maryland their first run of the ball game, as he's now ahead 2-0. We'll see if Sears can find the strike zone here. Finds it to make it 2-1. 91 miles an hour out of the arm of Brett Sears. His 8 consecutive quality starts, as that's fouled out of play. 8 consecutive quality starts, most by a Husker pitcher since at least 1999. For our fans who maybe are newer to baseball, quality start is when a pitcher goes at least 6 innings and allows 3 runs or fewer. He's one of 2 pitchers to be able to do that in the country right now, as there is another strikeout from Brett Sears. He's able to get Chris Hacopian for number 6 on the day.
I mean, he is just dialed and locked in right now. Already 6 strikeouts, and 5 of them via the swing and miss.
Yeah, there's more high heat. That's where he's found a lot of success this evening. Now here comes Chris's brother Eddie Hacopian up to the plate. Hasn't been his day so far. Grounded out in the 1st, struck out back in the 3rd, and here's Sears still moving as quick as ever, as there is a hard line drive, but luckily for Nebraska, out of play.
Yeah, that wasn't even a fastball he turned on. That was an off-speed pitch he turned on. My goodness.
Eddie sent that one a mile out of play. But here's Sears with 2 down, the 0-2. This one is grounded over to first. Columbus is able to knock it down and retire the side. 3 up, 3 down, and the Husker defense gets out there and returns right back to the dugout. We'll see if they continue the momentum offensively and extend on this 6-3 lead as we head into the bottom of the 5th on Big Ten Plus. He's got a lot of work to do. Down by 3 runs, but the Nebraska offense really started to take off in the bottom of the 4th.
Yeah, he's got to be able to cool down some hot baths. I think it's an advantage for him being a lefty, facing a lot of lefties a part of this Husker order, leading things off with Ben Columbus, but he's got to settle some of the damage quickly.
Columbus hit a homer in his last at-bat, puts this one to the right side into foul territory, no out made. Columbus almost got sat down very quickly in this at-bat, but the ball was dropped and will go to an 0-2 pitch coming up.
Yeah, that's a tough look for Maryland because you don't want any free chances for the Cornhuskers, and that one is, granted, it's not like you put a base runner on, but it's keeping the at-bat alive here for Columbus.
Columbus awaits the 0-2, lines this one into left center, and gets down for a base hit. Columbus, once again, 3 for 3 today with 2 singles and a homer. What a start to the Maryland series for Ben Columbus as we take another look at that one. Getting down very easily and just walks over to first with a lot of confidence.
Well, his last 10 games have been extremely impressive, and he's continued that. He's swinging such a hot bat and already up to 3 for 3 today. With those 2 singles and a home run, he's looking to come around and score again.
Here's Dylan Carey, looks at the first pitch from Sarcone in for a strike. Sarcone, the grad student from Greenwich, Connecticut, spent some time at Dartmouth over the past few years.
And here's another one, Dylan Carey, that can continue swinging a hot bat.
Lefty pitcher deals to Carey, who fouls it off into the stands.
Good catch by an older gentleman off to our right. He didn't even move, it just went into his lap.
Two strikes, no balls coming to Carey. Swing and a miss, and there is Sarcone's first strikeout of the outing.
Well, I said it's an advantage of him being a lefty because he's throwing about the same exact speed that Koster was throwing at. But it's coming out of a different hand this time, and you're seeing a different spin on it where it might be coming at the same speed, could be coming out, and it looks a little bit faster as it comes towards home plate. And we're really starting to see that to be a factor already. First strikeout.
Here's the DH, Clay Bradford, looking at a pitch low and away. Still has Ben Columbus at first, just one down here in the bottom of the 5th. Lefty on lefty matchup here. Sarcone finds the strike zone there. Pitched over 57 innings across 12 appearances last year at Dartmouth. Throw over to first. Columbus very easily back over safely. In the middle of this Husker order has been up and down today. Carey 0 for 3, but Columbus right before him 3 for 3. We'll see how Bradford can do here. Chops this one to first. Fouled it off as the count goes to 1-2.
You have batting average of 0 today and a batting average of 100 today. And Clay Bradford right falls smack dab in the middle at 500 today.
Sarcone ready to deal the 1-2. Got Bradford.
Back-to-back strikeouts via the swing and miss. And Sarcone has really locked in. Has done a good job throwing that hard contact and avoiding it as well. He's not thrown too much hard contact pitches. He's just thrown very hard stuff in general. And look at this again.
That high heat.
Yeah, top of the zone as well. It's hard to hit a pitch like that as it's breaking away from you. And for Clay Bradford, the lefty, it's breaking away, not breaking in, so it's tough.
Overbeek looks at that first pitch from Sarcone. And for Ben Columbus, who led off this inning, had that leadoff single. He's been doing that to pretty much any pitcher he's faced over the last week or so. But other than that, Sarcone has come in and quieted these Husker bats that were heating up in the bottom of the 4th. Overbeek grounds this one foul, and he finds himself in a 1-1 scenario.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that those bats really came live. They scored 6 runs in the span of 2 innings. And they bring in Sarcone, and it's like, all right, here we go, back to normal. By normal, I mean 0 runs.
Sarcone keeping Columbus honest over at first. Overbeek has reached first safely twice in a row today. Had that homer back in the 3rd, got the walk in the bottom of the 4th. We'll see if he can stay perfect here in a 1-1 scenario. 2-1 coming now. Overbeek lifts this one high, deep to center field, and getting under it is Lambros to make the catch. So Overbeek finishes the bottom of the 5th after Columbus got it going with that leadoff single, but no runs come across.
Nebraska and Maryland 6-3. Huskers on top of the Terrapins from College Park. It's not an easy travel from that far in Maryland. His first pitch is off the window to our left. And if that's, I'm going to say something. That's 1 more over. Well, 2 more over. We had a chance at a free foul ball, as that one is skied high into the evening sky and is caught foul ground to first base by Ben Columbus. For out number 1, Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald and University of Nebraska College of Journalism student Grant Hansen were right in the line of that foul ball.
I don't know if we've ever seen a foul ball come closer to us, but we...
not that close, at least. I know it's possible, but...
Take another look at this.
The fly
good tracking by Columbus.
And then making the catch. And that ground ball is into left field. Tough play by Josh Overbeek as he was trying to pick it, and it's Kevin Keister who's going to reach safely. Tough pick there over at 3rd from Josh Overbeek. As you see it again, it just right over his glove. It takes a funny hop off the dirt, and it's tough because the infield grass and dirt, I mean, even though they just smoothed it, could have hit a different sort of rock, a little bit of a divot there. It's not the easiest play to make. As Martin fouls this one off to the left side. Nearly caught by a fan. Ends up dropping it. The count sits at 0-1. Braden Martin up and at the plate. He is walked and doubled. He is 1 for 1. 0-1 misses down and out. Count even 1 ball and 1 strike. And they're going to say it's an error on Overbeek as well. And that's how Keister is able to reach. 1-1 from Sears. Ground ball that is through into right field. Keister stops at second. And a 1-out single. That puts now 2 on with 1 out for the Terrapins. And Brett Sears is in danger of losing the quality start. He had to go 6 innings and allow no more than 3 runs. Right now he sits at 3 runs, and if he's able to close this inning with no more runners scoring, it will be a quality start for him.
The double play here would be huge for Sears, as there is some work, some stretching in the Nebraska bullpen, so no doubt we'll see someone come in tonight.
First pitch to Jacob Orr is outside.
We saw Sears go the complete game against Ohio State last time out inside Haymarket Park. But the Huskers not afraid to give some of their other guys a chance.
1-0. Misses down and out. Call the ball. And we're going to see Rob Childers try to settle down Sears after the hard hit contact that he allowed to Braden Martin. Again, I think this was smart from Childers, able to come out and just, it's not like he's allowing hard hit contact. It's just frustrating because you have the ball that skips right by Josh Overbeek at 3rd, and then which could have been an out, and then you allow a base hit. Throwing back-to-back balls, you just want to settle down your pitcher who's already gone 5 1/3, and his pitch count right now that sits at 79, 78, and that mark. Scoreboard up there, I believe, says 81. I'm assuming that one is accurate because Stab Broadcast says 79, and then our own here says 78. So it's somewhere between 81 and 78. He's at least at the 80 pitches in that area. 2-0, called a strike. Two one. Sears sets at the belt and deals home. Called a strike again. The count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. You want the bounce backs like this in order trying to get the out to end the inning.
Nebraska's done well after these meetings on the mound, letting Sears catch his breath and find the strike zone.
2-2. Just missed the plate. Called ball 3. That was 94 on the radar gun. Another chance to get the strikeout. The 3-2, the runner's going to take off. They're going to catch him in a pickle. Sears falls down and is able to, no, they did not get the tag. And Sears is saying that he was able to swipe the jersey of Kevin Keister, and already Will Bolt is out of the dugout and says, hey, I am challenging that.
Yeah, it's not often you see a pitcher go and chase a base runner down in that way from Brett Sears. That was a pretty athletic move to kind of dive out and swipe at the jersey.
Well, Keister also, he kind of gave up on it.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be put in for both players. But that would be a huge out at this point to go get that second one, and then you're only 2 strikes, or you're 1 strike away from finishing this at bat as well.
And they will look at it. And with that, you will see our look at home. This is maybe the best one, and, well, I don't know. Does he?
He kind of caught him on the face.
Well, yeah, he caught him on the face because if you look.
Yeah, Keister reached up toward his mouth.
Keister, you're right. He reaches at his mouth, and it's like, oh, my goodness, gosh, that hurt. And then he ran back. He's like, oh, no, he didn't get me.
Yeah, hopefully he didn't lose a tooth or anything, but very quick review, and that's an out.
Very quick review, and they're going to say he's out. Credit to Brett Sears for swiping the mouth of Kevin Keister and tagging him out because he wanted to take off and then retreats back. And Keister, I'm going to tell you this, pal. If you want to sell, you are not wanting to sell the contact in terms of basketball. Like, yes, I got fouled. You want to sell it in terms of, oh, this didn't touch me. 2 away, and the count is still 3-2 for Jacob Orr. So now rather than him standing at the plate with 1 out, he stands at the plate with 2 outs. The 3-2 home from Sears to Orr. Outside ball 4. And Sears thought that was strike 3.
And that's a brutal finish to that at-bat as well. Just trying, it's definitely in the back of his mind, trying to keep this consecutive quality start streak alive, I would think.
I would assume you're right. I would agree with you.
He knows, and I'm sure the coaches told him, go finish this inning so we can give you a break.
As the first pitch is fouled off from the protected netting. For strike 1. Iannazo has an RBI double. He's 1 for 2 today. His RBI double is because Cayden Brumbaugh had a tough time with the baseball out in shallow right center field. And Iannazo's in a 0-2 hole at 94 miles an hour.
And this is where that put-away pitch becomes so important for Brett Sears. We'll see if he can finish in the top of the 6th.
Looking for strikeout number 7. The 0-2 home. Swing and a miss, strike 3. 7 strikeouts for Brett Sears. Start of the bottom of the 6th inning, 6-3. Nebraska on top of Maryland, and leading things off, it is not Alex Calarco, it is Cayden Brumbaugh. So ignore that lower third at the bottom of your screen. First pitch to Brumbaugh was a called strike. A 1 to Brumbaugh is down and in by his feet, just missed from hitting him. The count even a 1 ball and 1 strike. Brumbaugh so far has singled, a 2-run RBI double, and has walked. He scored twice as well. Really good from the leadoff man of this Husker lineup. 1-1 called a strike as it caught the outside part of the plate. Huskers looking to take another Big Ten series. Maryland looking to avoid losing their 4th Big Ten series in a row. Lumbaugh lines one into left center field and is caught by the center fielder Lambros. And there's 1 away in the bottom of this 6th inning.
Take another look at that one. Brumbaugh got underneath that ball, but over in center, Elijah Lambros, he can cover so much ground in a short amount of time. And that was an example of it right there.
First pitch to Riley Silva, called a strike. So Riley Silva comes in, sacrifice bunt, singled, and has grounded out. He's 1 for 2 so far today, hasn't scored yet. Really good speed, had the opportunity to score in what was the 3rd inning, never came around to do so as Cole Evans, Case Sanderson, and Josh Caron struck out swinging back to back to back.
I've been impressed so far by Sarcone on the mound.
He's done a great job out there. The lefty is throwing hard. 1-1 just misses outside. The count even 2 balls and 1 strike.
Gave up that single to Columbus, but since then, retiring 4 straight.
Facing a few lefties, it helps him as well. Silva, they're going to say he went around, and he did. Count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 away here in the bottom of the 6th inning. I don't believe the sun is fully set, but it's hard to tell with all the clouds. As that skips away, no one is on base, and the count is full. And Sarcone just loses the handle of it right there. Not a ideal scenario to have that ball skip multiple feet in front of what is the other batter's box in this case. No play was even made for Calarco. 3-2 swing and a miss. Silva goes down on strikes. Throw down to first on the drop third, and they're 2 away.
So Sarcone with his 3rd strikeout of the appearance. It's definitely been one of his better of the season.
He's coming in with a 7.47 ERA. I think we were a little curious on what we were going to see, and so far we have seen the good side of Sarcone. 3 strikeouts. He's only allowed 1 hit. Cole Evans steps up, who has an RBI double, and he reached on an error. He also struck out in his 2nd time up. First pitch to Cole Evans. Right down the middle, 87 miles an hour for a called strike. And that one skipped in front of him and then hit him. So he doesn't take his base since it hit the infield dirt and then proceeded to hit him. So he is going to continue to stand at home plate. 1-1 swing and a miss. Great pitch from Sarcone. And Evans trails in the count 1-2.
Yeah, Sarcone's been finding a lot of success kind of low in the strike zone. We saw Silva swing at a pitch really close to the dirt. We'll see if maybe he switches it up and goes high here.
1-2. Upstairs. So he did go high. Went a little too high. The count is even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 90 miles an hour, but the cost of it being a little too high in the zone.
Well, I guess I know what I'm talking about here.
I would agree. Two. That is through into center field and a base hit. 2-out single for Cole Evans. Keeps his bottom of the 6th inning alive.
Solid at bat there from Cole. Just battling through some tough pitches, kind of low in the dirt, but with some late break on him, and then able to survive on a 3-2 pitch right back up the middle. And that brings up the middle of this Husker order that we said earlier, Bobby, up and down so far today. We've seen some guys be extremely impressive, but then it's someone like Case Sanderson. A ground into a double play, he had a walk, a strikeout, just hasn't been quite the expected day from a Case Sanderson, who's one of the best batters in this entire Husker order.
Garrett Anglem is actually the one who pinch hits. They try to check on the runner. He got back in plenty of time. So Garrett Anglem steps to the plate, and Anglem so far this season batting .278. He has been an up and down hitter this season, had a really good month of March. So far the month of April hasn't really turned his way. So far, here are the numbers for Garrett Anglem as we just look at things. .278, .372, .405 slugging, 2 home runs, and 18 RBIs. Last season, numbers were down in almost every single aspect, minus the home runs. As Anglem lines one into center field, that is down. From first to third is Cole Evans, and it's a 2-out single to advance the runner for Garrett Anglem. Runners at the corners, 2 away in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, how about that? Garrett Anglem coming in, first hit of the day, able to advance Cole Evans just 90 feet away from another Husker run.
Brings up Josh Karen, who is singled flat out and struck out swinging. Sarcone in a tough situation right now. First pitch, outside off the plate at 81 miles an hour.
And as a team, Nebraska hitting very well with 2 outs so far tonight. 3 for 6 in these scenarios.
That is roped on to third. They're going to throw to second and get the out, and the inning is over. Great play over there by third by Ionaz to close this 6th inning. Start of the 7th inning, Brett Sears back out on the mound. And Brett Sears came in today with 8 straight quality starts, and he's hunting for that 9th quality start in a row. He has got it if Maryland doesn't score any more runs until his night is officially over, and he has just been flat out impressive this season, Jake.
Yeah, been one of the best single-season performances so far by a Husker pitcher in a long time. I mean, you could argue he's in that upper echelon in the entire country.
Absolutely. I mean, the conversations of him being a All-American are obviously there, as that's fouled off to the left side. He's leading off this inning is Alex Clark. Will go ahead.
In the country, I mean, he's pretty much in the top in ERA, top in WHIP, some of the most important stats for a starting pitcher, and this competition hasn't been easy.
And what's helped is he's been so good at home as well. He had not allowed a run at home since going back to March 9th. Said that after he allowed that first run in the 3rd inning. He had the complete game shutout against Ohio State 2 weeks ago. He has just been a flat-out dominant pitcher. 2-1 swung on and missed, and count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And he's still throwing 93 miles an hour as we approach 90 pitches here.
2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. 95 on the radar gun for Brett Sears in strikeout number 8.
I'm glad you mentioned that complete game shutout he had a couple of weeks ago, because that proves that he's not afraid to go deep into these ball games and help carry his team, as we see right there, just attacking the top of the strike zone once again tonight.
First pitch, hit in the air, into right center field, dropping quickly, and is going to drop down for a single for Lambros.
This is where the challenge comes into play. You got Lambros on at first over there, and now you've got the Hakopian brothers back-to-back.
Yeah, Hakopian, doesn't matter which one it is, they're very good together. Chris and Eddie. Chris will lead things off. That's the advantage about Lambros batting ninth as well. Oh, 1 to Chris Hakopian. Grounds it foul left side. 95 again. Trails in this count 0-2.
It's been boom or bust today for Chris Hakopian. He had the home run back in the third, but other than that, 2 strikeouts.
Yeah. Also hunting for strikeout number 9 and 10. 0-2. Fouled off to the right side. I think something to me that's impressive at the college level is having 10 strikeouts as well, because a lot of these pitchers are ground ball pitchers. But if you're getting a pitcher that goes out there and throws 10 strikeouts, that is someone who's got a lot of swing and miss stuff as well, and that's absolutely a great sign. 0-2, ground ball off to second. Over to second for 1, back to first. Double play! Brett Sears, I tip my hat to you, sir. And if that is the end of his line, that will be 9 consecutive what is just impressive outings from Brett Sears. Start of the bottom of the 7th inning here from Haymarket Park, 6-3 Nebraska on top of Maryland. And a new pitcher in for Maryland as well, another lefty, and it is Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson on for his 9th appearance. ERA is high at a 5.74. No decisions this season, 0-0 and 15 2/3 innings pitched. Has given up 9 hits, 11 runs, 10 of them earned. Has struck out 14 batters while walking 14 as well. And leading things off will be Ben Columbus as he took a first pitch ball. Bobby Hessling and Jacob Schrantz here on Big Ten Plus tonight on a Friday night in a very cool and quiet Lincoln, Nebraska, as the 1-0 misses and it's 2-0. Johnson sets, deals home. That misses low in the dirt. The count sits at 3 balls and no strikes. Ben Columbus, I think he might have the opportunity to see a green light here, Jake.
It's Ben Columbus, too. The way he has been hitting as of late, you can't be afraid to let him swing away.
3-0 to Ben Columbus. Didn't need the green light. It was ball 4 anyway. And a leadoff walk allowed from Andrew Johnson to Ben Columbus will bring up Dylan Carey.
And if that ends up being Columbus's last at-bat of the day, he's able to reach at least first base or more 4 consecutive times. What a start to this Maryland series.
I mean, he's been so impressive the last 10 games, and especially today. 3 hits and a walk. And on base, that's perfect in a game with at least 3 at-bats you are going to be a huge fan of.
And with Dylan Carey coming up to the plate right now, Will Walsh is on deck.
We talked about him earlier and how maybe we'd see more of him in the lineup. Didn't get that start today, as it's well known, but stepping up to the plate in a pinch hitter situation is also pretty normal for Will Walsh at this point. First pitch to Dylan Carey, and 93 is called a strike, and it's the first strike that Andrew Johnson has thrown. Fastball is a bit more lively out of Andrew Johnson than it is from Sarcone, but Sarcone's fastball, even though it's about 89, a very lively one. 0-1. Showing bunt is Dylan Carey. This hugs the line and rolls foul. The count is now 0-2.
That was almost perfectly executed from Carey. He's not necessarily the fastest guy, but with the height that he has, he can kind of stride out in that base path.
Yeah, Dylan Carey's with his speed. He's able to get down there quickly. And they weren't expecting it at a third base either. You have Ionaz, who's playing well off the bag, and he's not playing in. He's playing deep as well. Now he begins to take a few steps closer in on third. And there's a huge hole in right center of that infield, especially the right side of the infield. 0-2 inside on Dylan Carey. Called a ball, and it's a 1-2. One-two to Carey. Swing and a miss, strike three. Andrew Johnson gets his first strikeout. And it will be Will Walsh who will pinch hit for Clay Bradford.
Take another look at this one from Carey. Just some late movement on that one, kind of trailing down in the strike zone, and Carey was just not ready for that one. We'll see if Will Walsh, in his first at-bat, can have a little bit more success.
First pitch to Will Walsh. He's got a runner at first. And one out here in the seventh inning as he fouls it off in the protected netting. Counts it's at 0-1.
Talk about Will Walsh as an absolute explosive bat. He's only got 8 hits on the year, but 5 of them leave the park for home runs. So quite the ratio in a small sample size for Will Walsh this year.
0-1 to Will Walsh. Swing and a miss well out in front of it, and the count is 0-2. To Will Walsh. In the dirt, gets away. And advancing on to second base in plenty of time has been Columbus. Calarco again behind the plate. Just having a tough time back there trying to make that play, and is it spiked right in front of him. Will Walsh stands at the plate in a 1-2 count, having a runner at second. Swing and a miss, strike three. Back-to-back strikeouts for Andrew Johnson. And that will bring up Josh Overbeek.
You got to give credit to Johnson there. We talked up Will Walsh's ability to put the ball in play and make a huge impact, and Johnson just sends him packing pretty quickly.
Yeah, he did it relatively quickly as well. It's Josh Overbeek so far. Had a solo home run in the third, walked in the fourth, and flew out in the fifth. Steps to play with 2 out and a runner at second here in the seventh. First pitch called a strike. It seemed relatively inside. Some of the Husker faithful did not agree with the call, but the call's a strike, and it's 0-1. A 1 to Overbeek. Called a strike again. Counts it at 0-2. Good pitch at 85 miles an hour to drop into the strike zone. 0-2 to Josh Overbeek. Strike three looking. Overbeek goes down, and the seventh inning comes to a close as Andrew Johnson strikes out the side, getting Overbeek looking at the bottom of the zone.
Worthley, just the sophomore from Lincoln, came from Lincoln East High School, not too far from here in Haymarket Park, and he is facing off against Eddie Hakopian, the first baseman for Maryland tonight. One of the top bats for the Terps. The lefty deals, fouled off behind Hakopian, who came into today on an 11-game hitting streak. A chance of that being broken here if he can't find a ball and put it in play. Called strike 3 on Hakopian. 0 for 5 today with his second strikeout, that time looking as Worthley sits down, one of the top bats in this Maryland lineup.
Well, you could say goodbye to the hit streak as well, at least for the moment. And 11 games is no longer there, and he'll have to try to restart tomorrow.
So Sam Honar takes the batter's box, the lefty facing the lefty, Worthley on the mound. Swing and a miss, and they actually call it a foul tip, but it was caught behind the plate by Cayden. As Worthley dealing some good stuff on the mound for Big Red with a 3-run lead. This one is hit way in the sky to left foul territory and safely out of play. 1-2 coming to Sam Honar. Worthley set to deal the 1-2. That one fouled off once again, and we'll redo that pitch. Honar popped out twice in this game, had a single back in the 4th where he was left over at second base. That's as far as he got today. Worthley, the 1-2, just off the plate. Husker fans here wanted a called strike 3.
Yeah, everyone wanted a called strike 3, my goodness.
Would have been the second in a row for Jalen Worthley in this appearance. Here's the 2-2. Check swing. And they call it strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts for Jalen Worthley here today.
There's your strike 3. He more than went around on that one.
Take another look at this pitch, trailing low and away. And
that is a swing and a miss on a strike, 100%.
So a strikeout swinging, following Hakopian's strikeout looking, and we'll see if Kevin Keister, the shortstop, can put something in play. Puts this one deep to the right field at the wall, and it's caught in foul territory to retire the side. What a play in right field to finish the top of the 8th inning. Worthley comes in and keeps Maryland quiet on the scoreboard, and we head into the bottom of the 8th inning in a 6-3 ball game here on Big Ten Plus. Finished the bottom of the 7th with 3 straight strikeouts.
Ooh.
As that's a first pitch to low and inside. Did it hit Brumbaugh?
I think it did, but it was off the bounce. I don't think it initially hit him. Either that or he just skipped out of the way and might have slightly tweaked something.
Well, regardless, Brumbaugh will stay in the batter's box. The righty facing the lefty Johnson here. Another pitch inside. Makes it 2-0. 94 miles an hour from Johnson.
Hard-throwing lefty. You don't see too many hard-throwing lefties, especially at the college level. This hard.
Johnson, the 2-0, is lifted deep to left center. That one is trailing. Diving effort. No catch as Brumbaugh makes his way over to second. As there is a lead-off double for Cayden Brumbaugh.
Heck of an effort from Elijah Lambros out there in left center field, trying to make that diving catch. But it just drops a little too far out in front of him. Brumbaugh holds onto his helmet, stands up into second base.
That's Brumbaugh's second double of the night. Had the 2 RBI double back in the 4th, and once again he finds himself in scoring position. As Riley Silva, I should say, steps into the batter's box. Silva tries to sacrifice bunt this one over to the left side, ends up trailing foul. Silva came into this weekend the only Husker to score 30-plus runs this season, and he was the first Husker with more than 20 stolen bases in a season since Alex Gordon all the way back in 2005. And Silva is quickly approaching that total as well, as Gordon had 23 during that season. Johnson, pitch into Silva off the plate, makes it 1-1.
I'd have expected to see Silva at least get on a few more times tonight, but the sacrifice bunt, he hasn't been able to get on all of tonight, and Cayden Brumbaugh has done more of that heavy lifting work for him in terms of stealing bags.
Pitch off the plate again, makes it 2-1, coming to Silva, who's one of 8 D1 players to steal 21 bases and be caught 2 or fewer times, including the only Power 5 player this season. He's just extremely aggressive on the base path as that pitch is high and inside. Silva had to matrix his way out of that scenario.
Fortunate that didn't hit him. Ran up and in close on him. Was not intentional by Andrew Johnson. It's just the way that the bunt was placed.
Silva making Keanu Reeves proud right there with that dodging effort. As that one is put out of play, draws the count full. 93 miles an hour off that bunt attempt for Riley Silva.
Well, 3-2. 3-2, you're not going to see a bunt per se here. You're going to see Silva actually swing the bat. And Andrew Johnson, it's not like last inning where he was throwing a whole lot of strikes. He's been a little bit more wild and inconsistent this inning. Maybe take ball 4 here and have great speed on it, first and second.
Johnson, the 3-2, is bunted to the left side and out of play once again. So Silva unsuccessful.
Well, Silva's out because he bunted on 2 strikes. So that's the thing I don't get. Nebraska did it against Creighton on April 2nd. And I said then, why are you bunting with 2 strikes? You know it's going to be an out if it's not laid down perfectly. I know you want to advance the runner and all, but I don't like that decision to bunt with 2 strikes. Even them being up by 3, I still don't like that decision.
Well, nonetheless, Cole Evans, the left fielder, steps into the batter's box, looks at that pitch in the dirt. Decision time for Brumbaugh at second. He will trail back to the base. Evans got his 31st RBI of the season back in the 4th inning with an RBI double that brought in Overbeek and Brumbaugh. As we have a bit of a discussion on the mound between Johnson and Calarco, just trying to figure out finding that strike zone once again. As
I think you want to make sure your signals are right in this case.
Definitely, especially with such a tight game in a 3-run difference. You've got Brumbaugh at second. Anything kind of a mistake between Calarco and Johnson could lead to that all-important fourth run lead. Johnson deals. Swing and a miss from Evans on that 86-mile-an-hour pitch from Johnson. Makes it 1-1. Johnson keeping an eye on Brumbaugh over at second. Evans misses again, makes it 1-2.
That was 94 from Andrew Johnson as well. He's gotten that command back this inning. Lost a little bit at the beginning, but has gotten it back.
Evans came into this game on quite a bit of a slump. He was 3 for his last 20, but he's been productive today. Swing and a miss from Evans as Brumbaugh is able to make his way over to third, but Evans goes down with the strikeout.
Well, they tried to hit and run on there, and that's why Evans is swinging a pitch that low and out of the zone. And I think even on a pitch that low and out of the zone, you necessarily don't need to make that decision to swing. I know it's a called hit and run, but if it's that far outside, you know it's going to be a ball. And on top of that as well, Brumbaugh is fast enough where he can get down to third, and Calarco isn't going to pop up and make a throw down to third in any sort of time.
Here's Garrett Anglem. puts this one foul into his own dugout. Watch out.
Want everyone to be okay.
Anglum had that single back in the 6th inning, trying to keep a perfect day alive as he came in for relief for Case Sanderson. Puts this one high to the right side berm and out of play. And quickly, Garrett Anglum finds himself behind 0-2.
Well, if Andrew Johnson is going back out there and doing the thing that he's done, it's been getting ahead in these counts. The reason he's been able to get multiple strikeouts.
Anglum working with Brumbaugh over at third. Brumbaugh with quite a leadoff. Anglum grounds this one over to second. Honar makes the throw to first in time, and Johnson is able to escape the bottom of the 8th with no runs across for Nebraska. As he came in the top of the 8th, went 1-2-3 with 2 strikeouts. We'll see if he can handle Braden Martin, Jacob Orr, and Michael Iannazzo as this first pitch is put deep into right center, and it is caught in center field. Riley Silva tracks it down.
He's got such good speed out there where he can make a play like that. You got to give credit to Riley Silva.
Well, 1 pitch and 1 out. Worthley's arm thanks Braden Martin for that as we head into the next at-bat with Jacob Orr, the right fielder. Stepping in, the righty ready to face Jalen Worthley. First pitch called strike on the outside corner. Orr fouls this one deep to the right side, out of play, and he is quickly behind 0-2. 95 miles an hour out of the lefty, Jalen Worthley.
This is a save situation for Jalen Worthley as well. If he's able to wrap this up, he wraps down a save.
Off the plate for the first ball of the at-bat. Worthley, he's been a reliable relief pitcher for Nebraska pretty much this entire season. Someone that Coach Bolt has trusted in these scenarios. Swing and a miss. Foul tip, strike 3. So there's Worthley's 3rd strikeout of the appearance. Looks like Orr might have just slightly tapped the bottom side of that pitch. But nonetheless, it goes for a strikeout, and all of a sudden, Maryland's down to their final out here in this ball game. As it looks like a pinch hitter coming in for the Terps. As that'll be
Jordan Crossland.
Yeah, the freshman from Virginia coming in for his first at-bat of the day. 15 hits on the year, 278 average. Ready to face Worthley, who is pitching some pretty good stuff right now. 3 strikeouts, 5 straight retired. Huskers lead 6-3, looking to recover after a pretty tough week last week. This one's lined foul to the right side. Lost the Rutgers series last weekend. Dropped the midweek to Cayden, but a win tonight over Maryland could turn the tide for the better for the Big Red here at home. The 1-1 from Worthley is put into right center, chasing it down and making the catch. Garrett Anglum able to finish this ball game as Jalen Worthley comes in and gets the save as the Huskers take game 1 of this series 6-3 in Haymarket Park.